Hello and welcome to another edition of Grandstanders Live. I'm your host, Scott Kerman, and I'm joined by my usual cohorts, the Professor, Russ Stevens, Uncle Joe McLaughlin, and he's JP's first son, Tim Hoey. Well, we have another great show for you tonight, so boys, let's get it started. We start with the Boston Celtics because we're front runners like any true Boston fans are. It's 2-0, surprisingly so, against the Toronto Raptors. An opportunity to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. We're 2 games away. Boys, the Celtics have played as well as they could without a key missing piece in Gordon Hayward.
They sure have. I mean, they haven't missed a beat, and that's mainly because Marcus Smart has stepped up offensively in 2 games, and he's the guy who's getting the opportunities with Hayward out.
He was awesome in that fourth quarter, scoring the first 16 points for the Celtics team. Just incredible.
First thing I can say is Kyrie who, you know?
Yeah, absolutely, right?
You know, I've been thinking about Marcus Smart like all day. This guy, who would you rather be in a foxhole with in a battle than Marcus Smart? You know, there might be a guy who's a better shot. There might be a guy who's a better hand-to-hand combat guy. But this is one of those special human beings that we have the occasion to meet in our life, I think. I think I've known 2 similar guys, the captain of my college hockey team and a boss I had in my 20s. Guys who you feel like would take a bullet for you, you know?
Yeah.
They just put the team first, and they will do whatever it takes, not for them to succeed, but for you to succeed.
Yeah, look, I think the biggest compliment I could give Marcus Smart is I wish he played for the Bruins, and I wish he played for the Patriots too.
Yeah.
By the way, throw him on the Red Sox too. He'd be fine.
Yeah, right. Put him at right field or something.
He'd take one in the noggin to get on base, right? And then he'd steal second and third and score on a sacrifice squeeze. Yeah, he reminds me, and I had tweeted last night and to Cedric Maxwell, who agreed, he's starting to remind me a lot of DJ, and that's the biggest compliment I can give a player.
Yeah, you know, you just listen to what all those players said about him after the game last night. Kemba was raving about him. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Enes Kanter. I mean, they all just go on and on about how unique he is, what kind of to basically Tim's point, what kind of a guy he is and how much he has their back. And, you know, he's the heart and soul of that team. No doubt.
I read an article today, and it compared Kyrie and Tatum. And they had Kyrie being quoted after a loss saying that his teammates didn't know what it took to be a champion. And they had Smart being interviewed after a loss. And all Smart said was, I have to be better. I have to be better. Right. That's the difference in leadership, right? That's leadership.
So we all of a sudden taking this young kid and Jason Tatum for granted and just say he's the star of the team. Jason Tatum's going to have to give us 30 points. Let's just see what the rest of the guys can do.
It was a very quiet 34 points last night, I must say. It seemed like I was always watching. He was playing great defense.
That's his career high, too.
Outstanding.
In the playoffs,
Great point, Joe. It was a quiet 34. Mainly it was quiet because he got 14 of those points from the foul line. If you take a look at what Tatum has done this year, we said less mid-range, more three-pointers, get to the rim, finish at the rim, take more foul shots, become even better on D. He's done all of that.
He sure has. Yeah, and I've been most impressed by his defense. I think in his sophomore season, Kobe got to him offensively in the offseason, but he didn't talk to him at all about defense. And he didn't play any defense last year, but he's made it up for it this in his 3rd.
You know what I'm shocked by now, the NBA these days? 6'8" guys hitting 3-pointers from 5 feet outside the line with the guy on them. I mean,
that's the game.
You have to be 6'8" and hit threes now.
They really defend the perimeter now. It used to be they gave him that shot. And if you weren't on the line, they let you have it. Now they're defending 2 or 3, 4, 5 feet outside the line.
Yeah, that's a great point. And that leads to my next topic. Robert Williams. I'm no longer calling him Time Lord because he's made up for any problems that he's had in the past. You have a huge kid who's just crazy athletic, and we're starting to see that athletic ability pay off in games.
Well, he's
kept him in the game in that first quarter.
I totally agree, Joe. You know, they were in rough shape. He was instant energy. And I would say I'd put him in the same class as Smart, where wild card guys who came in and just give you a complete burst of energy. But by the way, they can commit catastrophic mistakes, both of them.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And it just so happens that they both really played well yesterday. And by the way, look, we'd be talking a different game right now if one or two of those makes that Smart had missed. It had been an overtime game or a loss, right? That's how close that game was.
Joke, the only time you'll ever hear 17,000 people in unison say no was when Marcus Smart was lining up for a three-pointer.
Absolutely.
And he does pull some bonehead moves too, some incredibly dumb turnovers every once in a while.
Okay, we have to give our kudos to Brad Stevens. Look, it's in a bubble. There's no crowd. It's a contained environment. But I think he's done his best coaching in the last couple of weeks. Every move he's making, and they were kind of sneaky moves, have worked. And especially when it comes to Kemba Walker.
I was bashing Brad. I think we all were last year because he wasn't able to take that next step into handling the likes of a Kyrie Irving. Well, Kyrie Irving has proved that nobody can handle him. So I guess we can't hang that on Brad Stevens. He's unmanageable. So you take Kyrie out of the equation, and Brad Stevens is Brad Stevens again, overachieving with a group of players.
And this bubble is just so psychologically different from any other environment any of these players, coaches, teams have ever dealt with before. And the Celtics seem to be handling it great. And you got to give the credit to Stevens for that.
I said, I think I was joking last week that he's on an Alex Cora kind of roll, that literally everything he does turns to gold, right? He takes out Tice, he puts Williams in, probably thinking he'd get 2 minutes out of Williams. Williams goes 5 for 5, scores 10 points, and gets him back into the game. I mean, that's the kind of crap that Alex Cora was doing in 2018 with the Red Sox.
Yeah, and I think Brad Stevens is the kind of guy that Brad Stevens lives for coaching, and he's kind of a 24/7 coaching kind of guy. And this is the perfect environment. No distractions at all. All he can do is just talk basketball with whoever, from his coaches to anyone. And what he has done with Kemba Walker, how he's been able to utilize Kemba Walker at the end of games, where he's changed it up enough, where the defense for the Raptors make no adjustments, that Kemba Walker is now the main offensive weapon in the last few minutes, and it's paid off in both games.
Sure has. That's a great point. That move he put on Ibaka, he had that jab step, and Ibaka nearly broke his pelvis falling over himself where he hit that two. I mean, that three and that two, that salted the game away. And it looked like Kemba had nothing last night.
The two-point shot is the same identical shot that Kemba won the Big East tournament with.
Yeah.
Literally the same move. Look,
He
Kemba
travels
Walker,
on it every time too, but they're never going to call it.
But don't sleep on Timmy made a great point. Don't sleep on the different personalities. Kyrie Irving is your main guy who's running the point now. Kemba Walker. Everyone says that Walker's the nicest guy they've ever met on the planet.
Yeah.
So Kyrie Irving, and look how everybody's reacting in a much more positive way. And the Celtics, again, are 2 games away. So I'm going to say the Milwaukee Bucks are down 1-0 in the series to Miami Heat. The Bucks have not played well in the bubble. Who would you prefer to play right now?
The Bucks
or the Heat?
No.
So Joe, the Bucks.
You prefer to play
I think Miami presents so many more bad matchups for the Celtics.
I don't think so. They have the ultimate bad matchup with Giannis. I think, you can stop Jimmy Butler. You can contain Jimmy Butler. And do they have some shooters? Yeah, but I don't know. Like, Giannis is the best player on the planet. There's no you got to put Shemi Ojale in the game for 25 minutes to try to contain him.
Yeah, I agree. And
Miami can switch it up. They can play, beat you inside, beat you outside. They have, different, ways to beat you. If one's not working, they can switch to the other, which Philly obviously couldn't do. And Toronto's having a lot of trouble. They can't play from the outside right now.
Giannis just scares the crap out of me. He can just take over. He's like, if he wants to take it to the hole, you can't stop him. The only thing you can do is foul him.
Look, historically,
they neutralized him the other night. I think he only took like 10 shots in the whole game.
The whole history of the NBA is the best player in the basketball goes to the NBA Finals. One LeBron James, what has he been? The last 8, he's been the best player in basketball. You've got to get that best basketball player in the league out. That's Giannis. We don't match up well with the Bucks. That would be a gift from the NBA gods to be able to play the Miami Heat to get.
I think the only thing to stop Giannis is they start calling him for traveling, and that's never going to happen.
And Rusty Boy in that great jacket.
They never called Michael Jordan. They won't call him.
Right, Russ is right. We want Shemi to be the guy. The difference between whether we go to a finals or not. Jimmy Butler, we've already beat in series. We've proven we can beat Jimmy Butler. If we can beat teams with Embiid on them, and Embiid's a hell of a lot better player than Jimmy Butler is. Pray for the Heat.
Plus, remember,
Jimmy Butler was on the Embiid's team last year.
Remember, Chris Middleton is a Celtics killer, and that guy, Brook Lopez, having to watch him hit threes from 27 feet.
Yeah.
I just don't want to play the Bucks.
Middleton's been terrible in the bubble, though.
Yeah. Middleton always
against the Celtics, I can tell you that.
Roddy, you took the words right out of my mouth. Middleton's a Celtic killer.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I'm afraid of Middleton more than I am ever be afraid of Jimmy Butler. And that he's the second best player on that team. And don't sleep on George Hill. You know I love George Hill. I wanted the Celtics to get him every year. I'm like, can we get George Hill? That guy just comes to play every night. Is always solid. All right, boys, go to the Bruins, and it's all Timmy's fault. That's it. It's his fault. It's the guy in JP. He's the one who drove Tuca out of the bubble and brought us into playing golf, the Bruins playing golf. Timmy, explain yourself.
Well, he couldn't take we know he's a regular watcher of the Grandstanders, and he just couldn't take my verbal onslaught anymore. And I have written up an apology note, and I'm going over the grammar and the punctuation right now. And
that's going to take a while.
Over to Tuca, full apologies. Please come back.
Yeah, look, like Russ said last week, if you don't have your number one goal, you're not winning diddly squat.
Goalies win the cups for you. Goalies win it for you.
They do.
And Tuca, I can remember a 6th game and a 7th game where Tuca just didn't come to play. And now this year he just walked off on the team.
But, last year he got them.
Can we depend on him?
He didn't have a great game 7. I mean, it wasn't horrendous, but it wasn't great. But he played outstanding in the playoffs last year. You just need a red-hot goalie. There was a lot of more weak goals than I can remember in a series against Halak and the kid that came in to back him up briefly. It was a horror show in the net for the Bruins. We
need to say the Bruins were not an offensive juggernaut, to say the least. In that
what else? The Bruins have to get bigger, in my estimation. I mean, this is 2 years in a row we got knocked around and bullied around. I know they say the NHL is going smaller and faster. Well, I'm not seeing it. It's still the bigger, stronger team that seems to wear the other team down in a series.
How did Tampa Bay get all these good young guys like Hedman and Point and Kucherov and Vasilevsky? They're all like 24, 25.
And they're all big.
Even Stamkos, who's small, he's like 29. And I thought he was around for like 20 years.
During the regular the games, we're playing a game every other night. It's fun to watch, our little 5'9" defensemen pirouette out there and do their thing. But when it really comes down to like dog eat dog, man, nothing 6'3", 230.
Tim, I was going to ask you about that. Krug's contract is up. Everyone's hemming and hawing and worried about Krug leaving. But I take a look at that defense and I see 3 small guys. I see him, Grzelcyk, and Clifton, and wonder, do you need more guys like McAvoy and Carlos size out there to, they had trouble handling the beef of St. Louis last year, and they had trouble handling the beef of Tampa. And I love the offense that Krug brings, but to give this guy a $6-7 million a year contract at 5'7", when you got another 5'7" guy right next to him, it makes me wonder.
What hasn't been removed from hockey is the intimidation factor.
Yeah.
I mean, come down and some defenseman smashes you into the boards 3 or 4 times. The next time you're coming down, you're thinking twice about, going around him. You're thinking of, doing the Gretzky turn or whatever, I mean, Bill Parcells said it. You can't teach size, and equal talent, the bigger person wins.
Look, it's the evolution of sports. Nobody in any sport's getting smaller. These guys are getting smaller. It seems the Bruins are the only ones. And, look, in the playoffs, it's already been proven last year, the referees are going to let a lot more go than they do in the regular season. And that's not benefiting the Bruins. It hasn't done in the last 2 years. I would say that Hedman, geez, he looks like another Patrice Bergeron.
He controlled the whole series.
Yeah. Doesn't he feel like another Patrice Bergeron? But
every time that guy has the puck in his stick, I start to twitch.
He impacted the game more than the goaltenders.
It did not surprise me that he got the goal.
Weren't you just nervous every second of these games?
Yeah, well, nerve-wracking.
But even watch half of the games. I had to get up and walk around and come back and check the score. And
that's without the crowd, Timmy. That's I know, right? I mean, it's pretty remarkable that they've been able to recreate a playoff atmosphere to some level without fans. I thought we couldn't. They couldn't live without us.
We're going to lose our big 6'9" monster back there. So we're not even going to have the biggest kid on the block sitting on the bench anymore either. This team has to start drafting bigger players, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, and that's where we're going to have a little quick tour around the Bruins personnel. Who stays and who goes? Rask stays or goes? Russie boy.
Rask stays because they don't have anybody better than him right now.
Okay,
and no one will take his contract.
Joe, so you say Rask stays, Joe?
Yeah, because they can't use him for trade bait with only 1 year at $7 million. No one's going to take him.
Okay, Timmy, Rask stays or goes?
Exactly like Russ said. Who do I have to replace him? Unless I have a guy, who's at least 90% of him, I gotta stick with the guy.
Yeah. Look, there's a chance. I think there's a 30% chance that he may retire. Otherwise, I think that he will be back with the Bruins. All right, Zdeno Chara. Is it a fait accompli that he retires, Russie boy?
I think he's going to retire. I think he's. My guess is he's looking at another season starting in December, and sort of the state of things, which he was not very mobile, and really realizing that the writing's on the wall.
Joe,
I think he might look to see if Rask retires and see if he does have another shot. He might come back at the minimum and just be penalty kill.
So that's what he did play this year at the minimum. Yeah. Timmy,
I think he's another Tom Brady. I think he is an athletic freak, and I think he's got another year left in him. I think this life, I don't think he'd know what to do with himself if he wasn't.
Well, I agree there. Yeah, he'd like to be holding the clipboard like Tommy B and on the sidelines right now. But I think he retires. I think he's just physically tired and done. And this whole bubble thing probably affected
What a great career.
All right.
Training camp starts in November 13th, is it?
Yeah.
That's very quick.
Stays or goes, Russ?
Who?
Bergeron, your boy.
Oh, my God, no, he stays. None of the rest of the guys are going anywhere at this point.
Marchand stays. Krug is gone.
Krug.
Yeah.
Is Krug gone?
Yeah.
Gone. You can't pay $7 million. He's a great quarterback on the power play, but you can't pay $7-8 million a year for him.
Okay, all I'm going to say is don't be surprised if Patrice Bergeron retires. I always thought he'd be a guy that retired a lot earlier than he did later. Just don't be surprised. And Sweeney does such great things with the salary cap. I agree with you that Krug is gone, but I wouldn't be surprised if somehow, if Sweeney really wanted to keep him, that he didn't figure it out. Because, again, it's a salary cap issue.
Yeah, maybe.
I think
and Tim, I think he keeps trying to get bigger. Hayes, Backus, he keeps Richie. He keeps trying to trade for these guys, but they all stink.
Yeah.
You got Coyle, who was a bigger guy than Donato.
That was a plus.
All right, boys, we go to the New England Patriots. Maybe you heard of them. All right, Cam, of course, not a surprise, is going to be the starting quarterback in a week. What are your expectations for Cam's first 4 games?
I don't think he has anybody to throw to. That's the problem.
And the first 4 games for the Patriots are usually an extension of preseason anyways.
Be all world, but he has nobody to throw to. That's the issue. So I don't even know how good he could possibly be.
Well, Well, the breaking news from the Grandstanders live desk is that Mohamed Sanu is going to be cut. Russ, that seemed like one of his targets, but it's been a quiet summer in training camp for Sanu.
Yeah, you know, I was saying to you guys, reading between the lines in the camp reports, it sounded like his legs are shot. And once a receiver's legs are shot, you know, it's over. It doesn't matter how big or how great of shape he's in. He can't get separation. He can't. So
Yeah, they have to go to the slot, and there's already a Hall of Famer there.
crowded.
All right, so I love the whole phony Patriots PR machine. They built up Jarrett Stidham to this Mount Rushmore elevation the whole offseason. All of a sudden, Jarrett Stidham, the news is coming out here, didn't like to play against the Patriots defense in practice, felt intimidated. They didn't like it that he took off before training was done. They were trashing Stidham. Looks like he's down in the depth chart and is not sniffing a starting quarterback position.
Behind Hoyer now, I hear.
Well, I mean, but like once they brought in Newton, that was over. I mean, you don't bring in Cam Newton. Cam Newton was never going to be a backup on this team. So that competition ended that day. And, you know, sounds like he was a young guy. He didn't handle that well.
You can't blame the Patriots. I mean, for that salary, I mean, of course you take him. I can't believe he came in for that money.
I know, but all this talk about Stidham was just way from the card.
It was eyewash and publicity just to show the rest of the league they weren't really looking at when they were.
Yeah, I don't know that it was the Patriots. I think there's a lot of very friendly media around the Patriots that clearly, you know, built the guy up. He's a developmental quarterback. He clearly didn't develop this spring.
You're right, Russ. Mike Reese and company are very willing to deliver misinformation for Bill Belichick.
Oh yeah, I like Mike Reese, and he's very.
Oh, I do too, but
he's a shill
he'll
to the
repeat
Patriots,
whatever they want him to.
He's the shill of all times. He knows when lunch is being served and dinner is being served. Absolutely. All right. So we love rumors here in the Grandstanders Live. Leonard Fournette, who was the fourth pick in the draft in 2017. Anytime a big name is released, the Patriots are immediately linked. Any chance that we pick him up?
Yes. He's everything that Belichick wants. 1,000-yard rusher and 70 catches. He's a bigger Rex Burkhead. That's the kind of back he wants. A guy that can catch 70 passes and rush for 1,000.
What would they have to give him, you think?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Now I think
He cleared
He's a free
waivers.
agent.
He
No, I
passed
mean,
waivers.
what would they have to give him dollar-wise? I mean,
They give him Cam Newton's contract and not a dollar more.
but isn't there anybody else shopping for this guy, you think?
Apparently, but you know, I think
They're all trying to get cheap.
I think guys now take a look at the Patriots and say, that's where I go to, you know, he's not going to make money from wherever he goes. So where do I go to rebuild my career the best? And if they have Cam Newton, they're going to run the ball. They're going to pass the ball, you know, short. And I might gain 1,200 yards, have 60 catches, and go make $10 million next year somewhere else.
yeah, Jamie Collins, just make a call to Jamie Collins. He'll tell you what happened.
Yep.
Once again, the mercurial existence of an NFL running back, though.
Yep.
You know, they are
I
down.
Bet you Tampa Bay is kicking themselves for grabbing Shady McCoy and then this guy pops up for them.
Yeah.
And now they're stuck with McCoy, who's
Look, we picked up
over the hill.
We picked up a questionable Lamar Miller, who they can drop in a heartbeat if they and put Fournette in there. Absolutely. Look, this is a guy still who's the fourth pick in the draft 3 years ago.
Joe, who would go? I mean, you assume that Miller goes, but who one of those other guys, Burkhead, Michelle, Harris.
I think it would depend on the contract status,
Okay,
Russ, more than ability.
I see.
You know,
No,
I think
Michelle
there's
is
enough versatility still that they could eliminate almost anyone.
What is the true state of Michelle's knee? You know, it seems to be a constant subject of conversation. I mean, he's always shelf, doesn't it seem like?
Well, this is
Yeah,
a big
he's had
opportunity.
a lot of problems ever since college with that knee.
Well, look, on a PR wise too, this is an opportunity if you want to get rid of your first round pick from a couple of years ago and replace him with a higher first round pick than as
Were
far
they
as
the same year?
No, year before. Fournette was
Oh, okay,
year
yeah,
before.
okay.
But still, that would feel like an even level, playing field as far as the transaction goes, and people would be kind of quiet about losing Michelle. And
I don't see Michelle breaking tackles. I just don't see him doing spectacular things out there. He's an everyday run-of-the-mill. If there's a hole, he'll get the yards. If there's nothing there, he doesn't really get
I don't know. No, look, Michelle has been a key guy, especially in his rookie season.
He's a good change. Michelle is a good change of pace.
Yeah.
I find myself in the position of defending Sony Michelle,
Yeah.
but he is a good change of pace back when the other teams loaded up the big guys. He can sneak through the gaps.
Yeah, I wouldn't just immediately get rid of Sony Michelle.
He just
I'd get
can't
rid of
catch the ball.
Burkhead. Burkhead's one more year in this on this team, maybe one more year in the league. I think Burkhead's the guy to go. All right, before we finish, we got to go to the Red Sox and offer our condolences
Do we have
to the
to?
professor. Well, we have to because we don't like the professor sad. So I texted Russ that Mitchie had been traded, and I thought I was going to get tears and all this emotion, and he immediately texted me back within seconds and said, "Who did we get?" So
No, and then I think my next text to you was, if you love somebody, set him free.
Yeah, right. So
They were only going to have him for 20 more games anyways, right?
well, it sounds
was
like
gonna be it.
Hein Bloom, for all ragging that we've been doing on him, Joe, I think that he got some pretty good prospects for. You're right, just a big old fat first baseman.
A 20-game rental. But I didn't see the word pitching in there anywhere, which is what we're all looking for.
Well, he got the pitching in the relievers deal.
Yeah.
Look, I'm sure that Bloom is just looking for the best available athletes, whether they're pitchers or players at this point, to restock that farm system.
And for Mitch Moreland, beggars can't be choosy. That he got anyone in the top 20 prospects in a good farm system, the San Diego Padres. Yeah. I thought he did really well. He sold Pilar and he sold some other guy. The guys they didn't trade, I'm actually surprised that Matt Barnes didn't go, but then I see that Matt Barnes still has at least another year left in his contract, and you just don't give a guy like Matt Barnes up.
Right. Good point.
I bet Mitchie helps somebody too. He's going to help the Padres.
He'll hit a home. He'll hit a big two bagger. Mitchie two bags is always going to come through.
Yeah, he was a good player for us. He was supposed to be here 1 year. He was here 4 years, and he had a Bernie Carbo-like home run in 2018 World Series that we'll never forget. The guy that I'm surprised that they couldn't get rid of was JBJ. I said to Russ that if they don't trade JBJ, I bet you they re-sign him. What do you guys think?
I think you're right.
From a public relations move, I think he was untradeable.
Being the only African-American player on the team?
I think
throw it out there.
Could be an element of that, but I read that JBJ said, I want to become a free agent. I made it here, so I want to take a look at the market. And as we know, once these guys take a look at the market, they're 90% gone, right?
Oh, JBJ can look at the market all he wants. I mean, all he has to do is look at his buddy Brock Holt and realize there is no market for a fourth or fifth outfielder. JBJ will be lucky to get $3 million next year for a 1 year deal. He's crazy. Nobody's looking for a JBJ type. They don't focus on defense at all. It's all about the home runs. 32
average. I mean,
yeah, he's just an average guy. Glad they kept Christian Vasquez. Apparently he was being peddled. Some catchers went, especially the Padres obtained one from the Mariners and paid a hefty price. But Vasquez is tough to replace.
They said they put a big price on Vasquez. They wanted something decent in return, and I don't think anyone was willing to match the price.
Well, it's hard to find an elite defensive catcher that also can hit the ball.
Yeah.
And hit with power. Usually you're happy with a guy that hits 210, 220, as long as he doesn't drop every other pitch,
Vasquez last year at times, I know it was a crappy team, Russ, but batted fourth.
Hey, I think Bloom tried to gauge the market, and he's a young part of the core probably. If someone blew him away with an offer, he'd trade him, but you got to take a look at the core, and he's in the core with Devers and Bogarts and Verdugo, who by the way, I love the kid. I mean, he's no Mookie Betts, but Verdugo he's a fun guy to watch.
Yeah, he's
It's been a revelation to me. You must know him from out in L.A.
Yeah.
But,
they spoke highly of them. You know, look, the fans were not happy that he left because he's a big personality guy. He's basically Benintendi with a heart. And that's the difference, right? You know, those guys probably have equal ability, but Verdugo shows up every night with emotions and wants to play, and Benintendi's just happy to sit in the corner of the dugout and smoke cigarettes. You know, and I was hoping that Benintendi would get traded, to be honest with you. I'm tired of that act completely. And Renicky,
everyone sees him moping out there in left field. They don't want him.
And then Renicky told us, not the biggest surprise we'll ever hear. He says that, I think Benny may be out the rest of the season. Who even noticed?
Nobody.
No.
I don't even notice that they're playing. You know?
I know, it's bad. All right, boys, that was a quick show. That's done for the night. We covered a lot. I want to thank, of course, the boys. I want to thank everyone behind the scenes, of course. Corbin, please check us out on our website at thegrandstanders.com and tune in again next Wednesday night at 6:30 for another edition of the Grandstanders Live. I'm your host, Scott Kerman. Have a great and happy night.